Hey everybody, thanks for tuning back in to another Tuesday Cruiser Chat with OTRAMM. Same format as usual. I don't have anything planned, so whatever cruiser questions you guys have, just put them in the comments and I will do my best to answer them. This one will be the last Cruiser Chat before the new year. I didn't realize that Christmas and New Year's fall on a Tuesday this year. And so I'm not going to be able to hop on and do chat Christmas or New Year's. So I'll be back whatever the first week after New Year's is. But yeah, nothing super exciting going on at the shop. Just cramming a bunch of work through before the end of the year. So I've been slacking on filming the Sunday Coffee episodes, like with the daily what's going on at the shop. It's been too hectic. So hopefully once we get into the new year and things settle in a bit more, I'll be able to get back to doing those. Going to go look at a new lathe for the shop tomorrow, running up to Pennsylvania to look at a 1942 Reed Prentice engine lathe, which will be awesome. So hopefully that comes back. 3,800 pounds of old American iron is always fun. And T25 says, thoughts on 100 series control arm bushings. What specifically are you looking for? I want to say I've only had one come through that was really worn out in the control arm bushings. Usually we see them more with the ball joints than control arms. I haven't tried pulling just the bushings out of the arms. I think I've only done one set of lowers on 100 series, and we got new Toyota arms, complete with the bushing and the ball joints. The rear lower bushing is actually in the frame, and the truck that we had in to get bushings, the frame was so rotten that when I tried to pull the lower bushing out of the frame started crumpling around my press sleeve. So we just left that one alone and left it in there because it didn't look like it was going to come out without major damage. We've had... Oh, no, I take that back. We've done rear control arms on 100 series for the bushings being rotted out, but I think that was only one. Are the ball joints as notorious as the 3rd gen 4Runners? I don't think so. The uppers we've done more than the lowers. The lowers, I think I've only done 2 on 100 series so far. We've done more uppers, but usually we've been doing the uppers because we were doing a lift, and we were doing adjustable control arms up top. We've only had a few come through that were actually sloppy in the ball joints so far. But it's funny you mentioned the 3rd gen 4Runners. Crash, my other tech, he was driving down the highway and the ball joints let go in his 3rd gen. And the whole wheel and everything came off the passenger side, which we've kind of cobbled that back together, but he still isn't driving it. Yeah, I think Crash is up in the 300s on his 4Runner, and yeah, we're seeing quite a few hundreds in the mid to upper 200,000s. Yeah, he had just pulled out of a gas station back onto the highway, and he had just gotten up to like 60 and heard a pop, and it just kind of flopped under the truck and drug. and he got it over the shoulder. The funny thing is he had it all ratchet strapped back together at his house and wanted to move it to the shop. So my dad went over with the trailer, and the whole wheel and everything fell back off again while my dad was towing it to the shop. And, you know, he gets there, and my dad's like, yeah, I felt it come loose on the trailer, but I didn't stop. So he almost lost the 4Runner twice. So I'm glad I'm riding with Dad when we go to pick up the lathe tomorrow. On the LX470, the front height is adjustable. You can adjust it by the torsion bars. When we've measured them, it tends to be like if you're measuring from the wheel center line up to the fender flare, it seems like the front sits about an inch lower than the rear. And you can go through and adjust the torsion bars and raise it up some. You just got to watch the angle on the CVs. You got to watch the angle on the CVs to make sure they don't get high. And if you're keeping the HC, you may have to readjust the sensors. And yes, Alex, I'm actually getting another lathe. I've got a 1900 to 1908 FE reed right now, but it's super basic and won't cut tapers and won't do threading. So looking at a 1942 reed Prentice off of a battleship from World War II. So it should be cool. It's got some motor damage, so it's kind of a gamble. I won't be able to hear it run tomorrow, but the price is right. So we're going to pick it up and add it to the shop. Not that I really need another lathe, but more tools is always fun. And since this one will cut cut tapers, I can make the missing piece for my horizontal mill and actually be able to use that properly. And I'm trying to think, I'm pretty sure in the 100 series AHC delete video, I go through adjusting the torsion bars. It's been forever since I did that one, but I think at the end, there's a chunk on adjusting the torsion bars for ride height. Are you talking about Moonshine's new lathe? I want to say he got a LeBlond. Yeah, I'd love a Monarch or a LeBlond. But since I don't really need one, those just never fall cheap enough for me to actually go scoop one up. Yeah, I've been watching his videos and his posts on Instagram, and I am very jealous of that lathe. See, 2 people smashed the like button. Yeah, and also don't forget to subscribe if you're not already subscribed. And we picked up another patron last week, which was super awesome. That always helps in getting new camera and lighting and all that jazz. So yeah, if you haven't checked out our Patreon link down in the description, check that out. Yeah, luckily, this guy's got a forklift to put the lathe on my dad's trailer. And then there's a forklift at the shop next door. And then there's also a heavy wrecker behind us. And they said they could use the boom to take it off the trailer and put it in the shop. Because I looked it up, it's like 3,800 pounds. And I want to move that as little as possible. Cool. And T25, have a good one. Have fun at the grocery store. And no problem. If you have any other questions, just tune in when we get back after the holidays. Yeah, there's a couple of LeBlancs for sale up here, but they're all in the like 3,000 to 5,000 range. This one was super cheap, so I couldn't really pass it up, even though I don't need it. I'm pretty sure I could sell it for scrap value if it just completely doesn't work and still make money back. And it's old, but I'm not doing anything production on it. We just use it to make bearings, bearing tools and just random stuff around the shop. A lathe just turns out to be real handy. Yeah, this thing has World War II Navy tags on it, so I doubt it's had limited use. But it's got to be tighter than the one I've got now. There's loose spots in my lathe bed, and you can get a good 1/8 of an inch jump when you catch it right. You just have to make sure you're not machining anything high tolerance where the bad spot is. Oh, yeah, the LeBlancs, they do look a lot nicer. And they probably are a lot nicer. They're just way out of the budget for something I don't really need. It's more of a fun to have around the shop type of deal. Like I needed, a random size of bushings for the spare tire carrier on the bumper I built, so I just turned them out of UHMW because we had a stick of it at the shop. So it's just handy because you can make the stuff rather than having to wait for it to, show up at ordering it. Oh, and I guess I should mention it on here. Several people have asked me about the crank holding tool I use on the 80 series when I'm doing like the oil pump covers. I finally redrew it and redesigned it so you can use it with a breaker bar instead of the welded on handle like I've got, so I could ship it in a flat rate box. And I got it quoted out from the water jet cutter yesterday, and it looks like I'd have to sell them for about 80 bucks. So I don't know what the market is for an 80 series 1FZ crankshaft holding tool. But if you're interested, shoot me an email or leave me a comment, and I may run off a batch of them. And Jeff says, finally got a 06 LX470, HC delete, talking about slinky shocks. So I haven't done slinkies. The slinky, I think, is more the springs than the shocks. I'm pretty sure they're icons. Actually, I know they're icons. So they're really, really nice shocks. Rebuildable. The slinky suspension, my feeling is the magic is more in the springs than the shocks, but the springs and those icon shocks do work together amazingly well. So yeah, but I haven't done it on 100 series yet, so I don't have any info on those. Yeah, you can use the breaker bar strapped to the frame to pop it loose, although I've had some not work. It's the torquing it back where it really comes in handy because you can lock it to torque it to 306 foot-pounds. And what's better, European or US cars? I don't know. I only do Japanese vehicles. I have a similar disdain for European and US vehicles, which is why I tend to just stick with Japanese. Yeah, I'm lucky. We've got a 3/4 inch drive, big torque wrench that goes up to 600 foot-pounds, and it barely fits under the hood when it's on the crank. So it is super easy to pull 306 on that thing. Like you can one-handed hit 306 with it. The bar is so long, which is why having the crank lock is handy. From what I've seen, Japanese is definitely better than Korean. Although the Korean stuff seems to be coming up, and the stuff I've seen lately, not that I've worked on any in the last couple of years, but the early 2000s stuff seems to be a lot nicer than it was in the 90s. But for me, the Japanese stuff is the best of the best. Nope, you guys are fine. You don't need to go out. You're fine. Trillian, you're on YouTube. That one I don't know about. Yeah, I guess the German cars do have a very satisfying thunk when they close. I did collision for a while at a shop that did a lot of European. And yeah, those are really heavy doors when you've got to take them on and off. And yet the hinges don't ever seem to wear out on those like the super light Chevy doors do. Yeah, I don't know. I wonder if it's like some European, like whatever their version of DOT is, that makes all the Euro stuff have heavier doors. I guess it's TUV. Maybe that's their DOT. It's something like that. Or maybe they just really like heavy doors. I don't know. I don't know what NH oil is, but if you've got visible surface rust, I'd take a wire brush, and get all the loose rusty scale, loose paint, get all that scrubbed off, and then hit it with the rust converter. Let that completely dry and do its thing. Top coat it with some Rust-Oleum, some kind of decent spray paint. And then once that's cured, fluid film everything and let it soak into all the cracks. Christmas plans. Yeah, my wife's cousin restored a church up in Pennsylvania into like an art space, and it's the 25th anniversary this year. So there's a big shindig this weekend. So we're going up there, going up further for that, and then we'll come back. I think we're coming back Sunday, and then we'll do actual Christmas down here with my parents. So yeah, Danny will be at the shop Friday, which is Crash. I'm gone Friday through Wednesday. And I think we're closed Monday and Tuesday of the following week for New Year's. And Alex says, question about the preload on the trunnion bearings. Did that cut from the video? It didn't. I've never run into having to reshim an 80 series trunnion bearing. I never even take the bearing cap off that has the shim under it. You can swivel the knuckle up, pop the bearing on, swivel it back down, and it's always been good to go. The 80 series knuckles seem to be machined to a tighter tolerance. So as long as, using the Quayo bearings that were the OE size, I've never seen a need to re-shim them to change the preload. They've always felt good going back together. So yeah, I didn't actually cover that in the video. Talk about trucks coming from Japan, 25 years and older, right-hand drive diesel motors. We're starting to see them come through. We had an HZJ 73 in the shop for the last couple of weeks, waiting on a BrakeMaster cylinder. Got that fixed, took it to get inspected. They failed it for wheel bearings. And we're like, oh, no big deal. We'll just adjust the wheel bearings. It's got some crazy electric locking hubs that weren't standard here. So now we're waiting on weird seals for that. We've got a HDJ 81 in also that's, in for timing belt, big end bearing, oil seals, tranny seals. It's in for a laundry list of stuff. And it seems there's a whole gamut of them. Like I've seen a couple of really, really nice, Japanese imports. And then I've seen some that, yeah, it looks like they sprayed a quickie paint job on them and shoved them out the door. It's different. Like they seem to be a lot better than the stuff that's coming up out of Latin America. Everything that's, that we've had come through that's been from Latin America has just been horrible. Like absolutely horrible. Wouldn't touch it with a 10-foot pole, to the point that I'm not gonna let them into the shop anymore because they all have way more problems than folks are willing to deal with, and it just becomes a huge pain. But yeah, I haven't seen any real super issues with the Japanese stuff yet, other than funky paint jobs. It's harder to get the parts for them. It takes longer to get the parts for them, but people are people are starting to stock more of it here. Cruiser Brothers and Cruiser Outfitters, both seem to be stocking more of the non-US market parts. So that's good. But yeah, they can be a pain. And Lucas says he's got an unlocked 80 series. Do I recommend any specific locker brand rear? We've done a couple of the Harap e-lockers lately, and I really like those for the simplicity of install over doing ARBs with the airlines and the O-rings and all that jazz. If you're not looking for selectable, I've always had good luck with the old school Detroits. But in selectable, the Harrops are my current favorite. Wow, that is crazy good mileage. And awesome. Yeah, it was awesome meeting you today. And you've got one of the cleanest 80 series that I've ever seen. Brandon and I were talking about it after you left. That thing is just super nice. Yeah, I want a diesel cruiser too, but I doubt I will have one since they're so expensive. I think the key to great mileage in an 80 series is not doing 85. We had a customer complaint a few weeks ago, and the ticket was, it was low fuel economy and, something else. And then a couple of complaints down further, they were all like, vibration at 85, wind noise at 85. And it's like, well, if you weren't doing 85, you wouldn't have terrible gas mileage. It's a brick going down the highway with a tractor motor. But yeah, driving them, 55, 65 seems to be a much better compromise on getting better gas mileage out of them. Yeah, I've had people ask me about how to get a better gas mileage out of a 40 series. And it's like, you're driving a brick. It's not going to happen. Although my old 4Runner, I could get 26 out of it on the highway. I was happy about that. Yeah, I'm hoping to get some time to get the 80 series I picked up back into shape over the winter so I can start driving that. Sam's asking about the viscous couplings in the 93, 97, how often they act up, and what are the symptoms. I actually don't have an answer for that. I've never seen one fail. I've heard of it happening. I've read about instances of it on mud, but I've never had one come through. I've never had a failed one come through the shop. So I haven't seen the symptoms or dealt with one yet. Knock on wood. Maybe I'm just lucky. Yeah, I don't know if they fail to where they slip or if they fail to where they lock up. And we see a ton of 80 series through and haven't run into it yet. I think Tools R Us is out in like Arizona, so maybe it's a temperature thing. Yeah, I've heard you can just remove them, but I don't know if you have to put the spool back in their place. Like, I've had it out of a transfer case, but I've never actually paid attention to how it connects to everything. A weep coming from the O-ring on the T-case actuator. That's a good question. I'm assuming that the Forerunner uses a similar actuator motor to what the Sequoia uses. And it looks like it would unbolt from the outside of the case, but it doesn't. It's snap-ringed to the shift forks from the inside of the case. And if you try to like pull it off without taking the transfer case apart, you're gonna strip the shift forks out of it. It's I did it in a Sequoia. I don't remember it being a terrible job, but like I took the whole transfer case out and did it on the bench, and so disassembled it on the bench, and the at least the rear half of the case has to come apart. And is it worth doing the part-time selectable mod? I get asked about that a lot, and I'm not sure why you would disable the part-time four-wheel drive or the full-time four-wheel drive in an 80. To me, that's like a big selling point of the 80 series, is the full-time four-wheel drive. I don't know that you're going to gain a lot by disabling it and going through and putting a spool in, putting hubs on, and all that jazz. To me, if it failed, I would just find another transfer case and swap a used transfer case on, and just keep on trucking and keep everything in the drivetrain stock. I've heard people say that they drive better in part-time, but I think the 80 drives great as it sits. So I'm not sure there's an advantage there. And I think you'd have to like drive the thing for 100 years to make up for it in gas mileage. Yeah, I have heard they increased the miles per gallon. But it's just, I think you'd have to drive so long for that difference to make to pay off the cost of doing it. The thought had crossed my mind to do it on the 80 series we picked up, just to see what the difference is and see how it feels, since it's in the game plan to do high and low range gears in it anyway. Rear locker dash lamp is coming on and staying on, not in low. Have you ever seen that? I have not. I haven't seen the rear locker come on and stay on when not in low. I'm assuming the locker switch also isn't switched to make it come on. That's a weird one. I would guess that either somehow your locker is stuck on, or there's a short in the dash light switch. Keeping the light lit. Yeah, if the dash light's coming on when the switch is off and you're in high range, I would guess either the switch is shorting out or somewhere in the dash wiring you're shorting out. And I would guess also the same thing with Zach's light not staying consistently on. Although that might also be a light bulb failing. because I'm pretty sure on those it's still a regular incandescent bulb. Yeah, I would tend to agree with Reds that that it might be the position switch in the locker itself, the one that tells it that the locker is swung over to actuated. Why that would mess up, I don't know. And the ones I've seen mess up have messed up to where the light and the locker won't turn on. But I guess it's possible that it could fail the other way. And when the ABS light's on, you can lock up the wheels. Okay, well, then that rules out my light bulb theory. Yeah, that's a weird one. Without digging into wiring, that one's going to be fun. Mention again the video that shows torsion bar adjustment. I'm pretty sure it's in one of our very early videos. It's something like 100 series, AHC, delete, and Omanimu suspension. Something along those lines. I'm pretty sure I do the torsion bar adjustment at the end to set ride height. It's been so long since I made that video. I'm not positive the torsion bar adjustment is in there, but I'm pretty sure it is. And to Sam, it's crazy how many times just an oddball fuse fixes things. I've never had a bad fuse keep lights on, but you never know. Stranger things have happened. We had an 80 series come through that the dome lights didn't work. And, we checked the fuse. Fuse was blown, put a new fuse in. It immediately blows. So I put my fuse buddy in so we could monitor the current. And it was a dead short. And it turned out somebody had put way too big of a light bulb in the third row dome light. And it was like pushing out and grounding out the tabs. So every time you shut or open the doors, it would blow the fuse. Just weird things people do. And I'll catch you later, Alex. Thanks for tuning in. What's the noise filter? What filters we use? We still use the factory filters. They're shorter, but I kind of figure if Toyota feels it's fine to run those, then it works for me as well. Yeah, I just haven't been super happy with the aftermarket ones. So we use the factory Toyota. It ends in YZZD3, but I can't remember the first half of the part number. We buy them by the case because they fit everything from the 40s on up through to the 100 series. And we haven't had any problem out of them. I had one. We had one that if you bumped it, it would leak from the seam, not from the gasket next to the engine block, but the actual crimped seam. That was an oil leak that took us forever to find. But out of the, hundreds and hundreds of OE Toyota filters, that's the only one I've ever seen with an issue. Thoughts on turbocharging an 80 series? I have not done one. I've got 2 customers that are anxiously awaiting Wits End's turbo kit release. So theoretically, I should be doing one of his turbo kits early spring. And I've seriously considered turbocharging the 80 series that we're going to build into the shop truck. Yeah, Joey from Wits End, his kit looks fantastic. It looks like he's covered all the bases with making super awesome parts for it. So it's looking like that's going to be a very awesome kit. I've done a couple of superchargers on the 80 series, and I really like the way the supercharger wakes them up. But yeah, and Zach brings up a good point. You can really only do it on the OBD2 ones, not the OBD ones. And I don't currently have any plans to do onboard air videos, just because like our videos are based on what people bring into the shop for us to work on. So it revolves around what people need fixed. And I haven't had anybody, call me about doing onboard air. Although I would really like to do Wits End's York setup for an 80 series on the shop truck, especially since I have a York compressor sitting in the parts pile from a previous project. I've got a York on my 4Runner for onboard air, and I absolutely love the thing. But I haven't put one on an 80 yet. What's the average cost of an engine refresh? It depends on how far you want to go. I've priced it out recently, like using a new Toyota short block, new Toyota short block, new oil pump timing cover, new Toyota timing chain, new water pump, and, pressure tested deck the head, and, new Toyota gaskets. And by the time you pull the engine, do all the swap work and put everything back in, I want to say it's around $9,500. And it all depends on the the condition of your engine. Like the shop truck we just picked up, it's got 350,000 miles on it and is burning oil at startup. So I would probably at least do valve stem seals and a head gasket and a compression test before I super or turbocharged it. One of our customers, we supercharged his, I want to say right around 200,000 miles. He had a blown head gasket. We did a head gasket and resealed the top end and did the supercharger all at once. And his bottom end's been happy. Yeah, so it depends on the engine condition. And there are definitely cheaper ways to refresh the engine. At least local machine shops, I don't trust them to hit the tolerance numbers that Toyota originally would have hit. And it's not that much more expensive, at least by what local machine shops charge. It's not that much more expensive to just get the Toyota short block than it is to buy, pistons, rings, bearings, and have all the machine work done on your existing block. We've done one, I think it was a Jarco reman engine, like Jarco. We did one of those maybe 2 years ago. And it came with all Toyota gaskets, and it looked like all Toyota parts on it. And it went in, ran awesome. And it was a super smooth engine. So that may also be another way to go, but I didn't actually purchase that engine, so I don't know how much that cost. And they may very well be running out of short blocks. I haven't tried to order one in a while. I checked on one maybe 6 months to a year ago, and you could still get them, but it was like a several week wait. And I don't know about a V8 swap, at least locally, the shops that were doing them, a V8 swap was 25 to 35K. And again, I'm sure you could do it cheaper. The guys that were doing them at that cost, it looked factory and was a super nice swap. But that is one thing that will never go through our shop. I get people calling me all the time about V8 American engine swaps. And I'm a Toyota shop, so we work on Toyotas. Even like the 40 series that come in, I'll work on the stuff on those that is still Toyota, but I'm not touching the butchered in American vehicle stuff. And an American vehicle engine swaps can be very well done, and can be, super reliable. Most shops that I've seen do them, they're not. So I have no real interest in working on those. And I think to do them properly, it's really hard to get paid. It's really hard to get paid what it would be worth time-wise to do it all. A 5-speed transmission really wakes up a 3FE cruiser. The FJ62 with the 5-speed behind it's quite fun to drive. A 4.7 swap into an 80 is a swap I would consider. And we actually had a Tundra, low mileage Tundra, at the shop with a rotted out frame, and I tried to buy it off of him, just so we would have a complete 4.7 drivetrain, wiring harness, computer, everything to do as a swap. Because you'd basically be building a 105. Any pics or future videos on my 80 series? I think I posted like 2 pictures on our Instagram. Last week was just a complete thrash fest, trying to get a bunch of trucks finished up and ready to go out and home for the holidays. And this week has gotten off to a rough start. Crash had an abscess tooth yesterday, so he was in pain most of yesterday, and he didn't come in today. So it was just me at the shop. The new Shop 80, it got shoved in a corner. And I haven't even driven it yet, other than just cruising it from where the tow truck dropped it off to the corner of the parking lot. I'm hoping to get some time in the new year to get it into the shop, go over it, see what it needs mechanically, see what all we're going to have to fix just to baseline it, and then, start putting together a build plan. Because ideally, I would love to have it ready to get it up to G. Smitter and Coal Mine Cruiser Classic this coming summer. Cool. I'll catch you later, and happy holidays to you as well. And thanks for tuning in. But yeah, one of these days, I'll when I get back to shooting the Sunday coffees, I'll have to do a walk around video of the new 80, because it is rough. Somebody spilled a bag of Quickcrete in the backseat floorboards and didn't clean it up, but also let it get wet. I'm not even sure how you do that. So the interior is probably going to be a complete gut job. I'm going to have to find, some other seats to put in it. I haven't decided what I'm going to use yet. But yeah, probably gut the entire interior and just bedline the inside because it's rough. The only set in stone current plan is that we're plasti dipping it orange because apparently I paint all of my vehicles orange. At least all my trucks. No problem. Yeah, I'll be away from the shop over the holidays, but I will still have internet. So yeah, whenever you get a video of the weird clunk, just shoot it to the email and I'll take a look at it. Yeah, we've had crazy weather here. It's been like just flooding like crazy. My wife's work had a recital about a half hour from here on Sunday, and it's backcountry road, and there was so much standing water on the road. There was a couple of times it splashed, came up over the windshield. What do you do with the electrical when rhino lining the interior? That's a good question. So I did the interior in my 4Runner, 20 years ago with Herculiner, the old roll-in stuff. And I just rolled straight over the electrical and figured I'd razor blade it out if I ever had to get to anything. Now that I'm older and wiser, I would probably move the harnesses out of the way, spray the liner, and then just lay the harnesses back over them and put them in better covers. But I haven't actually crossed that bridge yet. And Eric says he likes the Sunday coffee. Yeah, I like the Sunday coffees too. We just got so hectic. I haven't had time to shoot them, and the bit of footage I have shot lately hasn't come out right. So yeah, I need to get back into doing those because it showed a wider range of what we do at the shop beyond just what makes it into the repair videos. 100 series versus 200 series. I do definitely like the motor in the 200 series better. And the 200 series, at least as far as we've seen so far, doesn't seem to have the rust issues that the 100 series does. Only time will tell on those for sure. But so far, I like the 200 series much better than the 100. Cool. And Sam, thanks for tuning in. Yeah, and just whatever your questions you've got, we'll be back 3 weeks from now because we'll be off for Christmas and New Year's, but I'll be back after that. So yeah, whatever you've got, just let me know, and I will do my best to try to answer them. And you have a Merry Christmas and safe holidays as well. And as a heads up, I think I just heard my wife pull up, so the dogs may go insanely loud barking here in a minute. Why are the 200 series more rust resistant? I don't know. I don't know if they used a different frame coating, if they used a different steel, if they just haven't been out long enough to start seeing the effects of rust. They just seem to be less rust prone, but I don't have a good reason as to why. And where do we get our knuckle kits from? Generally, we get them from Cruiser Brothers. We get the Train Tamer kits. Although Cruiser Outfitters also has a super awesome knuckle kit. I just ordered a knuckle kit from them yesterday because I needed one with the oddball 70 series electric locking hub gaskets. And they were the only guys that I saw that had them. So yeah, I go back and forth. Mostly I get the Train Tamers from Cruiser Brothers, but we've also done a lot of the Cruiser Outfitters kits. What do I think about wheel spacers? I'm torn on wheel spacers. Properly torqued and a good quality spacer, I don't really see an issue with them as long as you're good on maintenance of checking the torque on the spacer and the wheel. They're going to make your knuckle bearings, theoretically wear out faster, and they're going to make wheel bearings theoretically wear out faster. But, sometimes that's kind of what you've got to do to get a larger tire and wheel in there and make everything fit. So I'm not dead set against them as long as it's a quality spacer and everything is maintained well on them. On the 80 series, we generally use the OEM, the NOK seal. Years ago, there was reports that the Eco Seals were wearing out faster because the 80 series was full-time four-wheel drive and it was spinning all the time. I don't know if that if that was true or not, but we've always stuck with the OEM seal on the 80. For like the 40s and the 60s and the mini trucks, I run the Eco Seal on those. No real reason, just that's what people ask for. If they don't ask for it, we run the factory seal. So we run both. And it depends. If it's a problem child, like inner axle shaft that's got a leaking groove, sometimes the Eco Seal will take care of that because it rides in a different spot. But generally, we go OEM. And see, maybe we're not seeing the Rust Belt 200s float down here yet, because he's seen some crusty ones from New York. Oh, awesome! Glad you got the seats and vents figured out. Yeah, I haven't personally seen the Marlins leak, but I've read reports on them. But we generally only use them on the 4060 mini truck because we haven't had any issues with premature leaking on the factory seals on the 80, as long as they got installed straight and didn't get nicked, putting the axle shaft in. And I guess if you've got the problem axle shaft, Joey from Wits End has that super awesome seal driver that can push the axle seal in like 2 millimeters deeper so that it doesn't ride in the same ridge and can help reseal the axle. I need to order one of those one of these days. Joey has so many awesome tools. Yeah, I need to order that one, and I need to get the rest of his bushing press tool set. I've got the one for the caster bushings, but I don't have the rest of them. One of these days, I'm going to go through and order all of the fancy tools that he makes. Cool. And happy holidays to you as well, Mike. And catch you next year. And I'm actually probably going to sign off here as well so I can get dinner started and feed the dogs because they're pacing around behind me because they know it's dinner time. But yeah, I'll catch you guys in the new year. Thanks to everybody for tuning in. If you haven't already, please subscribe. And if you'd like to help support future videos and better camera and audio gear, check out our Patreon link down in the subscription below. Any bit of help helps. But anyway, yeah, really appreciate everybody tuning in, and I'll catch you in the New Year's. And yes, Eric, I actually did buy a Shop 80. It's true. It's the ugliest LX450 you'll see, but it's mine, and we're gonna build it. So yeah, I'll catch you guys in the new year. Thanks for tuning in.